or have another print disability which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Michelle. For the next hour, I will be reading from the August 2nd issue of the Sunday Gusto. Cover story: a week's worth of WIVB TV. What our TV critic learned from 7 days of newscasts. WIVB TV Channel 4 gives itself the ambiguous promotional title of Your News Leader. WGRZ TV Channel 2 might dispute that, but there's no question that News 4 is the leader in the number of newscasts it carries and the number of food and heritage festivals, community events, and fundraisers it covers. That was apparent from watching the newscast carried from 6 through 10 a.m., noon, 4 through 6:30, and 10 through 11:30 on WIVB and sister station WNLO TV, CW23, during the week of July 20th. The 8.5 hours doesn't even count the 2.5 hours of newscasts from 4:30 through 6, and the 7 p.m. newscast that now carries streaming shows from WIVB+. Of course, Buffalo doesn't need 11 hours of newscast to present what is often 10 to 15 minutes of daily news. By Thursday morning, co-anchor Sarah Minkowitz gave meteorologist Mike Syka a high five for almost getting through the week. I felt I deserved one too. I followed Channel 4 newscasts for a week, as I had previously for WKBW-TV, Channel 7. Channel 2 gets its turn later. Unlike Channel 7, Channel 4 believes in the two-anchor system for several newscasts and has more live reports. In the post-Jackie Walker, Don Postal era, Kelsey Anderson and Dave Graber co-anchor from 5 through 6:30. Jeff Prevel and Marley Tuskus co-anchor at 4, and Minkowitz and Scott Patterson are the morning co-anchors. Prevel anchors solo at noon and Tusk at 10 and 11. They are all presentable anchors, with Graber the most animated and attention-grabbing. Interestingly, the female anchors are Western New York natives who have risen through the Channel 4 ranks. The males are from elsewhere. Newscasts are moneymakers for local stations. They are filled with commercials in between the day's news and multiple weather reports. The week had one truly impressive story. Investigative reporter Dan Telvek and photographer went into Niagara County home with an engineer holding a Geiger counter to see how much radiation was inside the home. Telvek was interviewed in the studio at 4 by Prevel about the findings and the reaction of residents. I'm told that unusual arrangements of the anchor interviewing a reporter as a result of a union issue. Telvek, who has on set during subsequent newscasts, believes he should be credited for triggering the investigation by state and federal officials, who later tried to confirm the radiation findings while people were evacuated from their homes. It was the kind of enterprising story that you rarely see on local TV news due to the decline in investigative reporting. Channel 4 looked for news angles on the continuing story throughout the week. On Friday, Anderson and Prevel interviewed a radiation expert from Colorado, Dr. Thorne Johnson. He said you want to protect people but don't want to scare them, and added that the psychological damage of knowing radiation is in or near your home can be devastating than the minor increased cancer risk of living there. I think people needed to hear that, said Anderson. The week's other big continuing story was the chaos in the Buffalo Board of Education. After the superintendent resigned, another board member was accused of sexual harassment, and an opening on the board was filled despite calls for it to be delayed. The proposal to ban people under 21 for being on Chippewa Street on certain nights and the pushback it received also got its daily share of attention, as did multiple fires at St. Anne's Church. And then there was the Kathy Hochul show. One day the governor made plenty of news addressing waterfront development, the data center pause, and the harnessing nuclear power. The rest of the week seemed like an advertisement for the DVR, the recording device that allows you to speed through the commercials in between car crashes, drownings, and crime stories. On the 4 p.m. Thursday newscast, 5 of the first 6 stories were crime-related. I admit I cheated. When a newscast repeated a story, I sped through it with my DVR. Ditto when Sajak and meteorologists Todd Santos, Sarah Sterling, and Matthew Quinn gave their weather reports. Weather may fill more than a third of the newscast time. Sterling has improved markedly in a year, and I hope Quinn will eventually do so as well. On one day, Santos and Sterling worked on the same newscast. She was on 2 different boats at the waterfront. He was in the studio. It was amusing to hear Graber saying he looked at his watch to see the temperature was going to be in the 50s. In other words, you can find out the weather in 10 seconds and don't need 3 versions of the weather every newscast. It's just filling time between ads. Another time filler is the morning traffic reports by an unseen Mike McQueen when drivers aren't watching TV. The quest to fill time includes tomorrow's traffic tonight, as if these things can be predicted. Whether you watch the morning show, Wake Up, likely depends on do you like Mike Sajak, who has been on local TV longer than anyone and dominates the program so much it could be called the Mike Sajak Show. Patterson, who used to work at Spectrum News, should feel right at home since Channel 4's newscasts repeat the news every 30 minutes, just like the cable news channel. Not much of anything changes except who anchors and in what order the stories are carried. If you've seen one newscast from 6 through 10 a.m., you've seen them all. The week was a festival of festivals, illustrating Channel 4's love of community as a selling point. I felt like I gained 10 pounds watching reporters interview people involved in the Italian festival, the Polish festival, and other festivals. Channel 4's ability to convince organizers and others to get up at 6 a.m. to promote their festivals in live interviews is impressive. Channel 4 has several young female reporters looking to advance their careers, including Angelica Gallagher, Michaela Carrazzolo, Hope Winter, Gwen Napier, Trina Catterson, and Alexa Beck. Beck reported an interesting story about Salamanca schools planning to use robots to answer student questions that has led to fears denied by officials. They could eventually replace teachers. A robot could probably do the festival interviews, but they might not be as much fun. I laughed when Beck ridiculously suggested to Liana Tateman, the executive director of the Italian Cultural Center, that a common misconception is that you must be Italian to attend the Italian festival. There were other moments of levity. In another segment promoting the Italian festival, Santos said his wedding cake was made from cannoli. Anderson also professed her love of cannoli. Winter did an amusing story about the opening of a time capsule in North Tonawanda from 50 years ago and did her Lucille Ball imitation in winning a grape stamping contest to promote the Italian festival. But there were some issues that would concern journalists. Anderson and Graber did a long segment on upcoming special events planned by the Buffalo Bisons that played more like a commercial than a news story before an actual Bison's commercial ran. Similarly, there was an interview with a representative of Batavia Downs that seemed more like an ad than a news story. A syndicated story about an upcoming NASCAR race likely ran because Nexstar's Channel 4's owner has the television rights to carry the races. Video from the Department of Defense was included in a syndicated story about important military preparedness that seemed like an advertisement for a military contractor. The strangest story of the week concerned the problems extremely high-end resorts in the Maldives are experiencing because of the U.S. war with Iran. Who in Buffalo would care or even point to the Maldives on a map? The next star station carries a segment called Epic Discounts, featuring two women anchors that are labeled a paid segment and sold eye massages, power station chargers, and drones, with proceeds going to Channel 4's owner. I needed the eye massager after watching so much news. Like Channel 7, there's a lack of sports coverage beyond prepackaged stories about the Buffalo Bills and Buffalo Sabres that could be done by a robot. I presume that is the call of the same news consultants who value weather so much. Sports director Josh Reed and Carl Jones frequently just repeat the same recorded stories on every newscast. Reed's short recorded story on LeBron James deciding to play for the Philadelphia 76ers was unnecessary since it appeared shortly after a longer CBS News piece ran. The time could have been used to highlight an actual sporting event. In summary, if Channel 4's newscast were put in a time capsule 50 years from now, people opening it likely wouldn't believe how little news there was in 8.5 hours of coverage in 2026. But by 2076, things will probably be worse. Music. Pictures. An Evening with John Waite, The Struggle, and Alley Cat. Photos by Harry Scull. British-born rock star John Waite, who began his career in the late 1970s as a bassist and lead singer for The Babies, then later found fame as a solo performer with his smash hits Missing You, and as a frontman for the supergroup Bad English, performed July 24th at Batavia Downs as part of the Rock and the Downs concert series. Joining Waite was The Struggle, featuring Bruce Wojcik, a member of the Niagara Falls Music Hall of Fame, and Western New York rock cover band Alley Cat, fronted by lead singer Allison Rabbitt. Pictures. John Waite. Picture. Lead singer Allison Rabbitt performs with Alley Cat on July 24th. Picture. Sharon Bailey on vocals and Bruce Wojcik on guitar perform Friday with The Struggle and Rockin' the Downs. Picture. Allison Rabbitt and Craig Madigan, bass, perform with Alley Cat. Picture. The Struggle, featuring Dan Delano on keyboard, Sharon Bailey vocal, Bruce Wojcik guitar and vocal, Denny Puchinsky on drums, Will Houghton saxophone, Leo McDonald bass, performs at Rockin' the Downs. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the August 2nd issue of the Sunday Gusto. Music. Country crossovers. Why so many Nashville artists are making the jump from stage to screen, by Peter Burdett. Country music stars juggling the challenges of profitable shows with streaming revenue often are turning to other sectors of the entertainment industry to diversify their income. The pipeline from the stage to the screen dates back much further than the days of Kris Kristofferson, Dolly Parton, and Kenny Rogers. It has been around since Tex Ritter, Minnie Pearl, and Roy Rogers. In the last decade or so, Nashville's new generation of dual-talented country artists has moved seamlessly between the stage and film sets, from Laney Wilson's role in Yellowstone to Jason Isbell and Sturgill Simpson in Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon, all showing that both the fans and musicians want more. Earlier this year, Carter Faith performed in her first film, Heartland, which is set to premiere on Netflix and was filmed in Nashville. Meanwhile, country music legends continue to garner new fans and remain top of the mind with longtime fans with on-screen projects, including Reba McEntire and NBC's Happy Place, Dwight Yoakam and Clint Eastwood's Cry Macho, and Tim McGraw and Taylor Sheridan's 1883. While fans might mainly see an entertaining media crossover between their two favorite mediums, appearing in film and TV projects is also a shrewd business strategy. It can lead to increased visibility, a new stream of revenue, and opportunity to exercise different creative muscles. The Nashville to Hollywood pipeline. Nashville's film industry is growing, but many of the deals country artists make will require someone on the ground in LA to connect them with traditional Hollywood infrastructure. As one of those connectors, William Morris Endeavor's Alexandra Sarah works as a top Hollywood agent, landing acting gigs for Nashville's biggest country musicians. Stationed in WMEE Beverly Hills office, Sarah is often the silent partner, introducing singer-songwriters to filmmakers for some of the more ambitious and momentous country music casting decisions in recent years, including Wilson's appearance in Yellowstone and Isbell's role in Killers of the Flower Moon. Sarah said her roster runs the gamut, with artists requesting a diverse variety of opportunities. There were a lot of different steps to that, and it paid off, Sarah said about Wilson's role in 2022, the same year that the Watermelon Moonshine singer first reached the top 10 on the Billboard Country Albums chart. I think that project especially was really cool because it introduced her music at such a pivotal time to this audience of people who are so curious. What she was doing on screen really resonated to them and made them go around and Google and say, "Who's this?" Wilson's next album, Whirlwind, found even more success in 2024, showing there may be long-term benefits to growing her audience with mainstream TV roles. But it's never as simple as a singer getting the role based on the pre-existing fan base alone. In the case of landing a role in the Sorcerer film, Cover Me Up singer had to study and audition like any other actor. Jason Isbell, to his credit, really did the work and he was in the National Archives doing research, Sarah said. He nailed it, and he ended up booking a role that was much bigger than the part he originally tried out for. I can't imagine any person in this earth playing that role other than him. And I don't think he set out to be an actor when I first called him with this opportunity. Sarah said there's no single reason why so many of country music's most notable names detour into film and TV. But as international audiences continue demonstrating an appetite for Western tales and Southern music, Sarah added it often works better to cast people who come from that world. With all the years of tireless work so many country stars put in before they find commercial success, roots music singers who start acting are, more often than not, willing to start at the apprentice level and work their way up to the master level, Sarah said. Rookie artists making the leap. Beyond Wilson, Isbell, McEntire, and the other musicians we've solidified their place in the industry, there are numerous other musicians who are stepping into the world of film and television. Some are rookies and others are seasoned veterans looking to further cement their status in one of the world's most exclusive industries. Rookies include Kane Brown in 911, Nashville and Fire Country, Riley Green in Marshall's Jelly Roll in Tulsa King, and Faith in her upcoming feature film debut Heartland alongside Jessica Tristan and John Hawkes. As for Faith's reason for the jump, she said it pushes the boundaries of where her art can exist. Whether it's songs I've written in a film or just getting to perform in a different sense, It really gave me a chance to widen the world that my art can exist in, she said. Plus, a whole bunch of people who might never have seen me before will watch this movie. Pictures. Lanny Wilson appears in season 5 episode of Yellowstone. Reba McEntire as Bobby in the NBC series Happy Place. Jelly Roll as himself in an episode of Tulsa King starring Sylvester Stallone. Pictures. Musician Kane Brown stars in an episode of 911 Nashville. In the episode, a tornado tears through a country music festival. Picture. Musician Jason Isbell had a role in Martin Sorcerer's Killers of the Flower Moon. Riley Green is Garrett in the CBS series Marshals. Things to do. Lucille Ball Comedy Fest, Niagara County Fair, and Dinosaurs by Tony Roberto. It was 1951 when Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz debuted the I Love Lucy show on CBS. No one could have predicted how the sitcom that filmed 180 episodes over 6 years in front of a live studio audience would continue to inspire and entertain today. Yet here we are, 75 years later, and we can still watch the show and easily find other reminders of I Love Lucy. That includes a visit to her hometown of Jamestown, which will celebrate her legacy for the 35th year with the Lucille Ball Comedy Festival. The festival, held Thursday through Sunday in various locations, is hosted by the National Comedy Center, with more than 50 live events, including headliners Jerry Seinfeld, 7 p.m. Thursday, Bert Kreischer, 7 p.m. and 9:30 Saturday, and Seth Meyers, 5 p.m. Sunday, all at the Northwest Arena in Jamestown. Other activities include street parties, guided bus tours of Lucy's hometown, comedy late-night performances, trivia, Ricky, bingo, and live dinner shows. Events celebrating the 75th anniversary of I Love Lucy, including a screening of the show's pilot episode at 11 a.m. Thursday at the National Comedy Center, and a free showing of other episodes under the stars Friday. On Friday, the 70th anniversary of Forever Darling will be celebrated in an archival encounter, a presentation using the Comedy Center's archival material, including a look at the film's Jamestown premiere. Kelly Carlin McCall will take you behind the scenes at the George Carlin exhibit while sharing memories of her late father at 1:30 Friday and Saturday in the National Comedy Center. For the full schedule, visit comedycenter.org. Niagara County Fair, 10 to 10 Wednesday through Sunday at the Niagara County Fairgrounds, Lake Avenue, Lockport. Of course, this annual fair will be fun. There will be animals, carnival rides, traditional fair foods, and entertainment. But beyond that, it has the bonus of helping others. Net proceeds support the Cornell Cooperative Extension of Niagara County programs for local families, so go ahead and buy extra cotton candy. Arrive early on Wednesday for the opening ceremony, breakfast and pie auction from 8 to noon. The Antique Tractor Parade will also be underway. The fair showcases 4-H youth projects, along with other activities including livestock shows, animal exhibits, mini golf, and music. Look for Juggling Jake Harder, Goat Knowledge Olympics, and Mike Randall and Friends Puppets and Magic Show. Attica Rodeo, Thursday through Sunday at the Attica Rodeo and Show Association grounds, Exchange Street, Attica. Get the full rodeo experience, including bareback riding, team roping, bronc riding, cowgirl breakaway riding, and barrel racing during this 68th annual event. Shows are at 8 p.m. Thursday and Friday, 1 and 8 Saturday, and 2 p.m. Sunday. Gates open 2 hours before showtime. It is a rain or shine and general admission seating. Lancaster Renaissance Street Fair, noon to 6 Saturday throughout Lancaster. Wear your favorite Renaissance theme attire or come as you are for this 5th annual event that will transform the village into a time gone by. There will be a blacksmith demonstrations, a fire breather, roaming entertainment, fencing demonstrations by the barony of the Ryder Rich Hale, and activities for the kids. The medieval marketplace will have more than 50 Renaissance-themed vendors. Show off your period dress during the Queen's Parade and costume contest. There will be food and drink, including themed beverages from Lily Bell Meadery. Mead was the drink back in the day. Lewiston Art Festival, 10 to 6 Saturday, 10 to 5 Sunday along Center Street in Lewiston. The village of Lewiston is worth the short scenic drive from Erie County any time of year. And once August comes, the trip becomes especially attractive as the quaint village hosts a trio of popular long-running festivals, starting with this annual Art Fest. Coming soon, the Lewiston Jazz Festival, August 28th and 29th, the Niagara County Peach Festival, September 10th to the 13th. At least 200 artisans from across the country will line Center Street with unique handcrafted items, and it doesn't stop there. Student art will be displayed in the Emerging Artist Showcase area. The Art Zone will have hands-on activities for kids, and the Indigenous Experience showcases North American art, crafts, and culture. Dino Adventure, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 9 to 7 Sunday at the Buffalo Convention Center, Franklin Street. It's a weekend of giant family fun with life-size dinosaurs that move, fossil digs, dinosaur rides, a prehistoric playground, Jurassic scooters, and coloring stations with dinosaur-themed activities. There are chances for meet and greets with the baby dinos too. Learn more at dinosaursadventure.com. Weekend reminder. America's 250 celebration continues today, Sunday, from 10 to 5 at Old Fort Niagara, Youngstown. British Irish Festival continues today, 11:30 to 6 at Buffalo River Fest Park, Ohio Street. Buffalo Oddities and Curiosity Expo continues today from 10 to 5 at the Buffalo Convention Center, Franklin Street. Quick calendar. Nate Bargatz, 7 p.m. tonight, Sunday at KeyBank Center. Franz Ferdinand, 8 p.m. tonight at Electric City, Pearl Street. Bidwell Concert Series, Songbirds, a tribute to Fleetwood Mac, 7 p.m. Tuesday at the Bidwell Parkway. Government Mule, J.J. Gray and Mofro, 6:30 Thursday, Art Park Amphitheater, Lewiston. Sylvester Stein and the Story of the Year, plus Origami Angel and Ally Nichols, 7 p.m. Friday, Terminal B at the Outer Harbor. West Herb Riviera Theater, just announced. Damage Inc., March 20th. Laurel Canyon Band, a tribute to Crosby, Stills, and Nash and Young, March 26th. Tickets on sale now for Montgomery Gentry, featuring Eddie Montgomery, August 6th. All Revved Up, tribute to Meatloaf, August 7th. Furious, Hip Hop Legends, August 8th. Bruce Hornsby and the Noisemakers, August 11th. E.T. the Extraterrestrial, free family film series, August 12th at 1 o'clock. Barry Manilow, tribute to Barry Manilow, August 14th. DSL, Dire Straits Legacy, August 15th. Rio Sinaya, August 22nd. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, free family film series, 1 o'clock, August 26th. Absolute Adele with Jennifer Sella, September 19th. Television. Lovell loves Buffalo, but she's open to opportunity. Chelsea Lovell, the host of WIVB TV's Channel 4 3 p.m. weekday program, Daytime Buffalo, created a minor mystery recently by her post on the networking net website LinkedIn that suggested she may be leaving the Next Star station shortly. Lovell wrote, "Hi everyone, I'm seeking a new role and would appreciate your support. If you hear of any opportunities or just want to catch up, please send me a message or comment below. I'd love to reconnect. Open to work, about me and what I'm looking for. I'm looking for on-air host, entertainment reporter, on-air personality, talk show host, and television presenter roles. I'm open to roles in New York, LA, Miami, Fort Lauderdale area, and Buffalo." Reached by telephone, Lovell said she wrote the post because she recently realized the hashtag that allowed people to seek new jobs while still employed was available. She added she isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Lovell told me her WIVB contract runs through April 2027 and she's open to staying at Channel 4. "I'm seeing what options are there," she said. "I'll only leave for the right opportunity. I love Buffalo." I'm surprised she hasn't had offers to leave for a bigger market already. 2 years ago, she was on my list of on-air local TV person likely to leave. Here's what I wrote back then. "The Channel 4 host of Daytime Buffalo from Queens has personality galore. She's much better than that 3 p.m. weekday program that includes paid programming. She also has an interesting life outside of TV. Holding the Miss America organization's title of Miss Finger Lakes, she also was a dancer for the Buffalo Bandits for a season." Update: she was recently first runner-up in the Miss New York State competition. I'd be very surprised if her LinkedIn outreach didn't lead to a job in a bigger market. Inquiring minds want to know: is WGR-TV Channel 2 co-anchor Mary Alice Demler close to returning to the station after dealing with a family matter? I don't know, but I'm told that if Demler chose to take family leave, that is available to Channel 2 employees for up to 12 weeks. I expect the time will run out by mid to late August. Of course, someone who is as valuable to Channel 2 and who has worked as long there as Demler, 33 years in September, might be allowed to take a longer leave. Scott Levin has been anchoring solo in her absence. Veteran sportscasters Paul Peck and Kevin Sylvester will be the co-hosts of the early portion of the Buffalo Bills radio pregame show carried on 97 Rock. Those shows will air from 9 to 11 Sunday before Bills 1 p.m. games and noon to 2 before 4 p.m. games. Sunday games, and start 4 hours before night games. Peck is the radio voice of the University of Buffalo football, which means he'll be very busy on the weekends of the games the Bulls play on Saturday. Former Bills center Mitch Morse and Chris Trapasso of Buffalo Ramblings will take over the pregame show for 2 hours, up to game time after Peck and Sylvester finish. Morse and Trapasso also will host a 2-hour post-game show at the conclusion of each game that will include press conferences from Coach Joe Brady and quarterback Josh Allen. Morse and Trapasso will be joined on their portion of the pregame show by special guests who likely will include play-by-play announcer Chris Brown, the voice of the Bills, color analyst Eric Wood, who was the Bills center before Morse joined the team a season later, and sideline reporter and Bills special team legend Steve Tasker. Books. What Taylor Sheridan Taught Me About Life in Prison by Sarah Hepola. How to Not Die in Prison carries two bylines. One, larger font, is Taylor Sheridan, the North Texas showrunner, who's built a TV empire on rough and tumble characters from Yellowstone to Landman. The other, smaller font, is his friend, Tom Nelson, who served 17 years in prison over multiple sentences, starting with juvie at 14. I'll let you guess who wrote the 200 plus pages of A Guide to Life Behind Bars and who wrote the introduction. Sheridan has entered the brand ambassador phase of his career, which includes not merely a raft of television shows with which he plays a minimal role, Dutchton Ranch, Marshalls, but also a music festival, the purchase of fabled 4-6's Ranch, the co-ownership of Cattleman Steakhouse in Fort Worth, and now a book with his name, if not much of his voice. This is a guidebook for the accidental felon, Sheridan writes in his chummy, F-bomb-laden introduction. Since accidental felon is a thin slice of the publishing market, you'd be correct to suspect this book has another purpose. And to Sheridan's credit, he tells us. Long story short, Sheridan's bud, LA-based personal trainer Tom Nelson, was struggling with his health and finances after pandemic shutdowns, and Sheridan wanted to help his friend by finding a lucrative joint venture. Nielsen, now in his 60s, spent his youth slinging drugs, beating up the occasional stranger, and doing time in medium and maximum security prisons. He turned his life around and hasn't been incarcerated for many years, but he has stories about prison gangs and making hooch in a plastic bucket, and the thin foam mattress of a prison bed, the blankets, sandpaper. Sheridan, whose genius lies in characters that are compelling enough to ignore the uneven dialogue and preposterous plot twists, knows a good protagonist when he sees one. He's also tackled the prison system in the show Mayor of Kingstown. Then it hit me, Sheridan writes in his introduction, about stumbling onto the idea for the book. What the world needs is a travel guide to the penitentiary, how to survive, navigate the very, very sharky waters, where danger lurks, and what mistakes to avoid like the plague. How to Not Die in Prison will teach me a few things. Let me share. Shivs can be made from toothbrushes, food cans, and styrofoam cups. The story of life behind bars is one of creative pragmatism, doing more with less, and according to Nielsen, weapons can be made of nearly anything. Pencils, pens, razors, canned food containers, he writes. A sharpened toothbrush can make a decent knife on its own, or you can heat up the brush and insert an old razor blade into the handle. This kind of blade is used for cutting or slicing as opposed to stabbing. Prisoners pick up these materials at vocational schools and work programs, as well as construction sites. Nails make excellent tips for knives and spears, but tools and metal scraps or parts are regularly pilfered as weapon parts as well, Nielsen writes. Anywhere there's a welding and other manufacturing or maintenance work being performed, there's usually metal of some type laying around, and it will be scooped up by enterprising inmates with axes to grind. Nielsen never kept a shiv, not worth the trouble. Punishment can be severe possessing one. And in a heavily surveilled environment with scant privacy, they're usually discovered. But others make a different calculation, and Nielsen describes the menacing experience of lying awake at night and hearing the scrape of metal being sharpened in the neighboring cells. Prison hooch is common and gross. No matter where you're being held, there will be someone, if not lots of people, making wine and whiskey, writes Nielsen, who ran a tidy business making the latter. Homemade wine, sometimes called Pruno, is made from fermented fruit served in the dining hall. In my experience, Nelson wrote, some 50% of kitchen workers will smuggle as much fruit and sugar as possible out of the kitchen and into their cells for the noble purpose of making Pruno. Sound gross? It is. But desperate people do desperate things, and selling Pruno can be a nice side hustle. Showers are dangerous, but not for the reason you think. Nielsen doesn't shy away from prison rape, which happens, but in his observation, it's not nearly as common as suggested by movies and TV shows, where sexual violence has become the go-to humiliation for writers reaching for shock. But showers can be dangerous places. The same mixture of vulnerability and seclusion that makes the shower a potential stage for sexual abuse, Nielsen writes, also makes it a great place to get shanked. Nielsen never got shanked in a shower, but a female guard did develop a habit of watching the men, though he admits she was pretty and he didn't mind. I should mention that How to Not Die in Prison is largely about men's experience in prison. Nielsen, for his obvious reasons, doesn't have much expertise on women's prisons. Prison sounds weirdly like a middle school cafeteria. I was struck by sentences like this. You'll be judged by everyone for everything. Your race, your haircut, your build, what you say and how you say it. Prison cliches do not break down. Breakfast Club style by jocks, brains, beauty queens, and hoods, but mostly by gangs. Nortifos, RN, Brotherhood, Bloods. Among other challenges, being a newbie fish in prison slang sounds socially fraught, anxiety introducing. Your body language will be studied, Nielsen writes. It needs to say in no uncertain terms, I ain't looking for trouble, but I am damn sure ready for it. Books. Engage with Pages by Claire Mulry. 9 fun ways to get reacquainted with reading for pleasure. 1. Embark on a book to screen readathon. This year has been huge for book to screen adaptations, from The Odyssey to Project Hail Mary and the 5-Star Weekend. Start by reading the book and then watch the movie or series. Put your inner critic to the test. Did they capture the spirit of the book? What were the biggest changes? Warning, this activity may inspire lively debates or sudden frustrations at filmmakers. Cook a meal from a favorite book. When I read the A series of Unfortunate Events book series as a kid, I craved pasta pushtunushka without even knowing what it was, and I'll never forget my first pint of Harry Potter's butterbeer at Universal Studios. Bookmark mouth-watering passages in your latest read and bring the text to life by cooking your favorite character's favorite meals. Visit the sites of your favorite stories. Literary tourism is having a moment. You can go so far as booking globe-trotting fan adventures. A recent Percy Jackson tour took me to Cairo, Athens, and Rome. Or visit local treasures. Or if you're planning a trip to another country or a new state, pick a book that's set there and immerse yourself ahead of or on your travels. Host a book swap party. Last year I invited friends over and let them pick through my stacks and leave a few of their own. A book swap party is easy to host and gives you an excuse to refresh your shelf. I've even hosted this blind date style where we wrapped our books in paper grocery bags to hide the title, and only listed plot and genre descriptors. The surprise reveal is sure to be a hit with your friends. Host an at-home reading retreat. You don't have to shell out thousands for a fancy reading retreat. Just dedicate the entire day to bookish pursuits. You can host it at home or take it to an outdoor space like a park with friends or solo. Get comfy, stock up on the snacks, and settle in for your reading marathon. It may be helpful to set a timer and read in hour-long chunks. taking a break for discussion with your fellow bookworms. Lean on the expertise of your local library or bookstore. Becoming an avid reader is all about finding a book that'll keep you turning the page. If you've been struggling to find one that'll hold your attention, why not consult an expert? Local librarians and bookstore employees are uniquely qualified to advise across genre and age. Give them a few hints. What sort of pace do you like? What books have you recently enjoyed? Or which books did you like as a kid? Are you in the mood for a specific genre or journey? Take your book on a date. You could read on your couch or in bed, but why not make it a whole event? Hop from coffee shop to coffee shop, or visit a museum and read between galleries. My favorite reading dates have been taking my book to a local bar or restaurant and seeing how much I can read by the end of my meal. And however you feel about the plot, it's at least a date you'll never feel bad about going home with. Read with a friend. If motivation is what you seek, try reading a book at the same time as your bestie. Form a mini book club together, stopping intermittently to pulse check your feelings about the same book. I did this a few years ago to get through the behemoth A Little Life by Hanya Yanglehara. Our starkly contrasting opinions made the reading experience that much more engaging. Go to a silent book club. Reading may be a solitary activity, but that doesn't mean you can't find community around it. Silent book clubs are an anti-book club book club. A low-pressure social event that still lets you retreat into the comforts of your pages. Everyone reads something different, and there's no pressure to read a certain amount or a title. Taste. Restaurant notes. Say it again. Labyrinth is an unforgettable adventure. On a recent evening, while on cocktail number 2 at Labyrinth, I was about to eat a tiny totoro over a bowl of soba noodles, and as I overheard a man at the neighboring table ask his friends a devastatingly good dinner party question, "Do you want to create something in life?" I thought about this column. Out. Drunk texting. In. Drunk note-taking. Labyrinth opens your mind. Some credit is due to the 4 cocktails they give you over the course of one dinner. Some, but not all. Labyrinth is only 9 months old, but it has already established its own way of doing things. It's part of a new generation of restaurants where going out to eat has evolved into an experience akin to theater, but Labyrinth takes an even dinner as experience a step further. It's truly unusual, unique enough for me to break my scheduled programming to write about it for the 2nd time in a year, because it warrants underlining. Labyrinth is a themed restaurant and cocktail bar in Allentown. It is a reservation only, and owners Bethany Halbrick, Cameron Sinclair call it their personal dinner party. The first theme, which I covered in November, was David Bowie. The current theme, which runs through August 22nd, is Studio Ghibli, the Japanese film studio responsible for some of the world's most iconic animated characters. The next theme, London Underground, debuts in mid-September. It's intimate. Labyrinth's 15 Allen Street dining room seats about a couple dozen diners. That can make it difficult to book a reservation, especially for an experience as beloved as Studio Ghibli. But if you do snag a reservation, you're in for an evening of 5 small and beautiful food courses, 4 cocktails, a game, a tarot reading, art, photography, and many squeals of delight, all while composer Joe Hisaidi's haunting Ghibli scores play softly in the background. It costs about $100 per person, including the tip. Studio Ghibli and the flavors of rural Japan come to life in a delightful and unexpected ways. Halbrick and Sinclair both live in Japan and made a research trip there earlier this year while designing the Ghibli experience. Dinner begins with a sake and shiso leaf martini handed to you upon walking through the door to sip while playing an icebreaker with your date. You roll a dice and move your character through a Candyland-like game, each step corresponding with a provocative question. What's something you've outgrown that still lingers fondly? You're also asked to put away your phones and use a plastic digital camera. Each table has their own, which prints out instant black and white photos to document the night. Throughout the evening, they'll serve charcoal soba noodles with salty sea grapes and enoki mushrooms inspired by My Neighbor Totaro's Enchanted Forest. A petite black sesame cone is filled with creme fraiche and dill and topped with a bursting sake-cured salmon roe. It was like a savory ice cream cone served on a blue and sand-colored oceanic platter, reminiscent of the Galabi film's many seaside landscapes. A hearty bowl of Japanese breakfast hash comes with an anami egg, crispy ham, and flowers. It's paired with a choose-your-own-adventure gin cocktail, which you select by picking a custom-made Galabi-themed tarot card. I entered the restaurant last Wednesday as a stressed-out adult, feeling the weight of the world more than an abundance of childlike wonder. Then I was given an hereby lime green martini, fun as soon as I walked through the door, placed in front of a board game in which I got to ask abstract, slightly evasive questions, my favorite, and handed a fun camera. Don't mind if I do. All I had to do was sit back, snack, and play. I was being asked to trust the path, even when I couldn't see it. It was much better than anything I could have paved. You have been listening or reading of articles and features from the August 2nd issue of the Sunday Gusto from the Buffalo News. Your reader has been Michelle. Thank you for listening.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have the front section of the Sunday Times. At 2 o'clock, we have the New York Times opinion section, and at 3 o'clock, we have the New York Times arts and leisure section. Stay with us for these readings and more throughout the day. If you're listening to this publication online, you're probably using our website, a podcast player like Spotify or iTunes, a streaming service like Siro, or a smart speaker. Did you know that we now have a dedicated app that can be downloaded to any mobile device, like a smartphone or tablet, for free? App users can conveniently access our live stream and any episode of our podcast easier than ever. To download the app, just type NFRRS in the search window in the Apple App Store or in the Google Play Store. Contact us anytime if you have any questions by calling 716-821-5555, extension 5. Thank you. You're listening to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. As of this year, our agency has broadcast more than 300,000 hours of radio readings. Volunteer radio readers read newspapers, magazines, and books to area people who are blind or have a print disability, who are provided reading radios. Radio Reading's broadcast signal is provided at no charge by WNED. Radio Reading broadcasts from studios at 1199 Harlem Road in suburban Buffalo. Please let others know about Radio Reading. It's your service. For more information on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, call 716-821-5555. following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability, which makes reading,